This video will go over lesson 4.3, combining like terms for Envision. So here is a solve and discuss it at the beginning of investigation 4.3. And it says, if you can imagine these different tiles, how would you sort them and organize them? So if you had ones like this, maybe you would, there's probably all different ways that you could sort and organize them. So maybe you just want to pause and think about that. One way would be to say, well, all like this one and this one and this one, these things here all have fractions in them. And, like this one and this one, they have decimals. So I could do that. Or maybe I would sort them in a way to say like, maybe I'd look and say, well, this has a negative, and this one has a negative, and this one has a negative, and this one has and the other ones are positive. So I could sort them that way. But another way would be to look and see something else they have in common. So if I look, this tile here has an X in it, and this tile has an X, and this tile has an X, and this tile over here has a Y, and this one has a Y. So they're kind of have that in common. Whereas these tiles that are left over, 3/8 and -1/2 and the -2 and this one over here and this one, all of these, they don't have any letters at all. So if I sorted them and put all of the ones with X's together and all the ones with Y's together, and then all the ones that have just numbers and no letters in them, I put them together, it would look something like this. So I know that's kind of messy, but I have all the X's together here, and I could put them together, and I have all the Y's together over here, and then all the constants together over here in a big mess that's illegible. But anyway, so that's one way to sort them. And by sorting them this way, what we're doing is we're finding the things that have the same variable or no variable at all. So terms or items that have the same variable are called like terms. Like meaning alike, like the same. So it's like alike or similar. And then term meaning that it has the same variable. So so as the variable involved. So then all the ones that have just an X in them, they're like terms because they have X's, and all the ones that have Y's in them, they're like terms, they have Y's. And then all the constants are like terms because they don't have any letters. So by thinking about it in that way, it kind of helps us understand what we mean by combining like terms. So combining like terms means you're going to put together the items that have, or the terms that have the same letters in them. So here's a picture model to help you understand. And what they did is they're saying that each of these squares are, if they're yellow, are worth 1, and if they're red, is -1. And then each of these rectangles, which are longer, we don't know their value. They look like they might be worth 3 though, by the way, because of how you put 3 of those tiles together, it equals 1, but still, we don't know how much they're worth, but so they're given a letter C. And then this one is red, so it's a -C. So if you put together one positive and one negative, that equals 0. So this would make a 0 pair. And if I put this red one with this green one, a negative and a positive is 0, a 0 pair. And if I put this green one and this red one, now I have another 0. So that means these 3 positive green ones are canceled out by 3 negative. And now I have these 3 negatives that haven't been paired with anything. So I should have 3 negative c's. And if I do the same thing with the square tiles, and I put one negative and one positive as a 0 pair, so that's 1 pair, 2 pairs, take this one and put with this one, 3 pairs, take this one and put with this one, 4 pairs, and this one goes with this one, and that's 5 pairs of 0. So those are 0, and I have 1, 2 left over that I didn't pair with anything, so that's a positive 2. So once I take this and I pair them up, positive with a negative, to make a 0 pair, and I see what's left over, I should have 3 negative c's and 2 positive 1's. That's what we mean by combining like terms. Now, that picture is represented by this algebraic model. So let me erase some things here because I have a lot of it written. But if you look here in the numbers, so negative 2, that's 2 negative c's. This says minus 4c. Well, minus 4c is really just negative 4c. So negative 4c is right here. There's 4 negative c's. That's negative 4c. And then positive 3c is right here. So if we were to rearrange this and put the like terms together, so negative 2 and positive 3 and negative 4, and put them together, if we just combine the coefficients and look at those numbers, so negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1, right? Plus negative 4, so negative 4 plus 1, 1 plus negative 4 is just negative 3c. That's what we had right here, negative 3. And then if I take the terms that are constants, negative 5 plus 7, well, negative 5 plus 7 is 2. And there's the 2. So there, we've combined like terms. We added the c's with the c's and the constant with the constants. And the simplified expression is negative 3c plus 2. So here you have it in your book. And as you can see how they lined up, they took all of the negatives and put them together first, and then connected the positive and the negative together. And then here you can see they're stacking them so that they have negative 3c and positive 2. So that is a way to do this. And then over here they have more how it will be algebraically. See how they have rearranged it so that all the c's are together first. So negative 2 and positive 3 and negative 4, they're together. And that's just using the commutative property to reorder things. So now you're going to do the try it. So you should pause this video and do the try it on your own. Okay, so here's the answer then to the try it. I would say one of the first things that we do in math is, knowing that we have to combine like terms, is go through and change subtraction. Use the keep, change, flip rule. And change keep, change subtract to add, and change the second number to its opposite. So plus 7, keep 7, change subtract to add, and change the next number to its negative. So now I have this 3f, change subtract to add, and the second number to its opposite. Another way of looking at this is add a line, 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 add a line. So just make sure whenever you change it, you change both things. That you change the subtract to add, and the other number, and the second number becomes negative. So now that we did that, the next thing we can do is rearrange it. And what I like to do is I like to go around and circle. So I circle the common terms, and I make sure to get that plus there. So I circle all the F's, and then I'm going to put a box around all the constants, and then I rearrange my terms. So I start with these. I have negative 6F plus negative 3F, and now I'm going to do the blue boxes. So then I have plus negative 6, plus 7, plus negative 9. So combining is adding. So I'm always adding. That's why I changed subtract to add, because I'm always adding. So this negative 6, when I brought it around, I was adding that negative 6. So now I'm going to add the F's together. Negative 6 F's plus negative 3 F's. Same signs, add and keep the sign. Plus, and then I'm going to add the constants together. So negative 6 plus 7, different signs, subtract this time and keep the larger sign. That's 1 plus negative 9. Different signs, subtract this time and keep the larger sign. That's 8, and so it's negative 8, so plus negative 8. Then the last step is to then undo and get rid of the double signs. So now I have to change it back. So negative 9F, change the add to subtract, and the 8 to negative 8 to its opposite, so it becomes positive 8. So now I have simplified this expression. So in example number 2, we're going to get a little more challenging, because now we're going to involve fractions and decimals. So the x's are in fractions and the constants have decimals, so that's kind of confusing. But let's go through and simplify this expression. I'm going to look through and make sure everything's addition. Here I have change subtract to add, and the second number, it's opposite. Now we don't recommend you changing it on top like that, because you don't have different colors like I do. So it's better, even though it's a hassle, to go through and rewrite it. So negative 3 plus 1/3 x plus negative 4.5 plus negative 1/5 x. So now I'm going to find all the x's, and I'm going to put them together. I'm going to guess that we're not really strong at adding fractions with positives and negatives with different denominators. So I would go ahead and use a calculator for that. You're going to put the constants in the calculator. 1/3 plus negative 1/5. And then you'll be able to combine those. And then I'm going to put the constants here. Plus negative 3 plus negative 4.5. So when you put this in the calculator, you probably had positive 2/15, and that's 2/15 x. So don't forget about putting the x back on after you use your calculator, plus negative 3 plus negative 4.5. Same signs, add and keep the sign, is negative 7.5. Now, the last step is to go through and make sure I've simplified by changing any of my double signs back. So rather than adding a negative, I'm going to keep, change, add to subtract, flip the negative 7.5 to positive. And so now I have 2/15 x minus 7.5. Voila. So you should pause the video and try this one on a piece of paper. So first, I want to go through and make sure everything that is subtraction becomes addition. So keep, change, flip, plus 3.2, keep, change, subtract to add, and change the second number to its opposite. So negative 3 over 10 becomes positive 3 over 10 x. Because remember, subtracting a negative is really addition. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to find all my x's and all my constants. and reorder this problem so that I have the x's first. So negative a half x plus 3/10 x plus 5 plus 3.2. And I use a calculator and I put the coefficients in the calculator, negative a half plus 3/10, and I get negative 2/10 or 1/5, negative 1/5, sorry. So negative 1/5 x plus, and then I'm going to add these. 5 plus 3.2 is 8.2. And there we go. We've combined like terms. So in this last one, this last example, there are two variables. It doesn't really make it any harder. It's really essentially the same thing, slightly different. But first I need to go through, before I start circling things, and change everything to addition. So 4a plus negative, add a line, 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 and there I go. So now everything's adding, and I added the negative version. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to circle all the a's, and I'm going to put a box around all the b's, and then I'm going to triangle all the constants. There we go. So now I've used different shapes, and I'm going to start with my a's. So I have 4a plus negative 3a. I'll put them together. Then I'll do my b's. Plus negative 5b plus 2b. And then I'll do the constants, negative 6. So 4a plus negative 3a, different sign, subtract this time and keep the larger sign. That's 1a, or just a, plus negative 5b plus 2b. I look at the constants, so negative 5 plus 2, different sign, subtract this time and keep the larger sign. Negative 3, b's. And then negative 6, which is negative 6. There's nothing to add to it. So I can't add these things now together because I can't add a's and b's, and I can't add constants onto things with letters. So I just need to get rid of my double signs. So a minus 3b minus 6. And that should be your simplified version of example 3. So when they tell you to simplify, that's what they mean. You're making it simpler. See how this is more simple than what we had. And here's how they're showing it. They're using parentheses to group things, but they don't really have to have the parentheses. They're just grouping them so that you know which things that you are adding. So here is the last try it. This can be confusing for people because the blanks. So I'm going to first do this. Change, subtract to add. So that's a negative plus 5G network plus 4K TV. Sorry. Plus 11.1. And then subtract 10G. So that's plus negative 10G. So now that I do that, you have this graphic. What can I add to the negative 10G? Well, 5Gs. That would go there. And what can I add to the 4K? Well, nothing, because it's the only one with a K in it. So these parentheses are around the 11.1. And what other number that can be, that's a like term to 11.1? That's right, negative 3.7, because it's a constant. So these things inside the parentheses are a like term. There's only one term in the set that has a K in it, so that's by itself, and the constants. So now we're going to simplify. 5G plus negative 10G. So 5 plus negative 10, different sign, subtract this time and keep the larger sign, is negative 5G. Plus 4K can't be added to anything, so it's by itself. And now the constants. So negative 3.7 plus 11.1. And you can use your calculator or just think different sign, subtract this time. So that would be 7.7 7.4, and it's positive because we're going to keep the larger sign. So now we're going to clean it up. The simplified expression is negative 5g plus 4k plus 7.4. So there's a place in the book called Did You Know How? And we'll have some examples for you, and it's good practice. But I'm going to wrap it up here and just say that the steps would be to first make sure that everything is addition. Because you can't use the commutative property unless it's addition, because we only have a commutative property of addition or multiplication, not subtraction. Then you're going to reorder the like terms so that the like terms are together. Put all the x's with the x's, the y's with the y's, the constants with the constants. Then you are going to add the coefficients and constants. So a coefficient is a number in front of a letter, and a constant is a number without a letter. So once you've done that, you're going to go through and change the double signs back. So you're going to create double signs, like you're going to create it so that it was negative 4b plus negative 9k plus negative 6. So you're going to be creating plus negative 3b. You're going to be creating these double sign situations. Then you're going to change it back at the end. So there you have it. Change, subtract to add. Reorder the terms so that you have the like terms together. Add the coefficients and constants of the like terms, and then change the double signs back. Thanks for watching.